Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Coral deck profile. This is the newest encounter deck that we received out of the Sparkling Stars Lyrical Monasterio booster set. This deck focuses on the fan favorite Coral and her initial ride line for the ride deck, along with some of the new support we got for Coral in this booster set. The only encounter cards we got for Coral were the actual ride line pieces for her. I guess, there aren't too many specifics for Coral that many of the fans remember aside from Coral, but still very, very awesome to finally have this deck in D format as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck. For it, we have the energy generator as normal. Our starter is Angelic Star Coral. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Fresh Star Coral. When it's rode upon by Shiny Star Coral, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with Coral in its card name or a grade 3 unit card from among them, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you can either search out Coral or some of the other grade 3s that we run for the added support for the deck. Our grade 2 is Shiny Star Coral. On Vanguard, when this unit attacks, choose one of your rear guards and you may return it to the hand. So just a pretty standard bounce power. And also with this card, you have the initial auto ability, which we are running multiples for the grade 1 and 2 copies of Coral, so we'll go over those when we get to them in the actual parts of the deck. And our grade 3 for the ride deck is Aurora Star Coral, running this copy in the deck initially, but we also do want to run the 3 other copies in the main deck as well. Don't have them sadly, but there is placeholders for some of the other cards that I'm missing because I am not planning on building Coral. But with this deck, you have this card called Song Passed Down. Cetis is just an added backup option for your Coral deck, so you can have them as placeholders until you get your additional copies of Aurora Star Coral. All of your other units with Coral in their card name get shield plus 5,000, and also on Vanguard Circle, once per turn, put a card from your hand to the soul, draw a card. If your card with Coral in its card name was put for this cost, this unit gets on the Vanguard at the end of the battle. This unit attack, choose one of your rear guards and stand it until end of turn. So giving you the option to then restand a rear guard definitely does help. And on Vanguard, at the beginning of your battle phase, you may Energy Blast 4, and all your front row units get plus 5,000 to end of turn for every 2 cards with Coral in their card name in your soul. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets critical plus 1 as well. So you have the restand power, the added pressure for the power boost for every Coral card in your soul. So you definitely want to build up more of a Coral number. That's why we're also maxing out the additional numbers that we have for the ride deck as well for these numbers to use. So very, very useful there, especially. And we also run the new grade 3 backup, which once again I have the Cetis as a placeholder because I only have the 3 copies for this card, and it is Luminous Melody Illuminencia. When this unit attacks, if your soul has 4 more cards with Coral in their card name, you can counter plus 1, draw a card, and this unit gets power plus 5 till the end of the battle. And at the end of your turn, if your soul has 4 more cards with Coral in their card name, soul plus 1, and return this unit to the hand. So more of a bounce power as well to protect this card so you can have it again to use on the following turn. So just a great pressure card, making use of both the counter blasts and the soul blasts, since your Coral for your Vanguard will mostly just use Energy Blast for its cost of the abilities. For the grade 2s, running 3 more copies of Shiny Star Coral. When this card is put into the soul by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Coral in its card name, draw a card and Energy Charge 1. Choose one of your rear guards and it gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So it's an added bonus for being able to place this card into the soul. So very, very useful there for that additional Energy Charge 1 and a draw off of that as well, since you're going to need those energy charges for you to be able to use with Coral's main ability also. And also, last spot for Cetis, but we have the 4 copies of Diva of Echo Star Rententeer. When placed on rear guard, you counter blast 1, choose a card with Coral and its card name from your drop, put it into your hand. And on the rear guard or guard circle, if you have 4 more cards with Coral and their card name in the soul, this unit gets plus 5,000 power and shield as well. So acting as more of a defensive unit to be able to use as the intercept, but also being able to hit a 13k body on its own without needing the boost of a card, as long as you have the 4 cards with Coral and its card name in your soul. And then for this next grade 2 spot, we have another specifics depending on if you have the cards or not. You can either have Deep Gratitude Dragon Presto or the Valshablon or the Method Valfair for this spot here for the grade 2 count. Once again, it's whatever you have. I would recommend Valfair for the majority of this spot essentially, but still you have added options with all of these different cards depending on which one you wanted to use. For the grade 1s, we run 3 additional copies of Fresh Star Coral. When this unit's put into the soul by the ability of your grade 3 trigger a Vanguard with Coral on its card name, choose one of your Vanguards, it gets plus 5,000 till end of turn. Then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, that chosen Vanguard gets triple drive until end of turn. So this is just an added option for your Coral to have more pressure. So it's a definite 3 of just for being able to provide your Vanguard with the triple drive ability as well. So another 3 of, and also helping just with building up the number of Corals that we have in the Soul also. For the other grade 1 spot, we have another Coral card in the form of a common, and that is Melody of Beginning Corsomal. But the card you would want to run here is Singular Heart Rurica. When this unit boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Coral in its card name, choose a card with Coral in its card name from your drop, and you may put into the Soul. At the end of the battle, if your Soul has 4 more cards with Coral in their card name and you did not countercharge this turn, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So it's a countercharge option card in the deck, making able so you can also have another way to choose a card with Coral from your drop zone, putting into the Soul, and giving you that initial setup also. We have the spot here also filled with Melody of the Beginning Corsomal. When it's put on the guard circle, you can Soul Blast 1 and it gets plus 5 until the end of the battle for every 2 cards with Coral in its card name. But the Soul Blasting can get very risky when you're needing to potentially Soul Blast cards with Coral to use this card. So you want to stick with just the Singular Heart Rurica for this spot if you can. And then for the other grade 1s, we have 2 copies of Cooling Heart Eureka. It has another Soul Blast ability. Once again, the biggest thing with the Soul Blasting in this deck is just to be wary where you want to use them and make sure you always have the number of needed Corals in your Soul. But having the plus power when a rearguard is called into the same column as this unit is always useful as well. With the rest of the grade 1s being 4 copies of Mermaid Idol Ellie. So just the newest Sentinel, and also being an Encounter Sentinel, I found it very, very fitting to use in the deck. It's just one of the more memorable cards for being used with Coral initially as well in the deck. So very, very fun to have this old Sentinel as well, finally, an Encounter Sentinel for Lyrical Monasterio and Bermuda Triangle also. Now, we do have an additional grade 0 spot, and this is where I'm kind of hazy on what I want to use, because once again, we do use the Soul buildup in the deck. So I'm torn between, I'm probably going to stick to the 3 additional copies of the grade 0 Angelic Star Coral. So we just have more copies of this card to use in the deck, being able to place this card since it is Coral in its name to gain those additional abilities as well. It doesn't give you any bonus like the grade 1 or 2s, but still we have that option. And we also have the Welcome to the Starlight Festival, which I was mixing back and forth between this card also, because you can set up the triggers that are in your drop zone for your Soul to use, and then draw a card with a counter +1. It gives you, cards in your Soul that you would prefer to Soul Blast for some of the other cards, while being able to keep the Coral units in your Soul also. And then for the trigger lineup, we're going with the 8 critical, so 4 copies of Edwidge and the 4 copies of Oris, just with the triple drive pressure. I like the 8 count for this deck. And then for the draws, 3 copies of Baratois for the additional +5 shield power, with our heals being 2 copies of Hortense and the 2 of us Rhyme and 2 of us Flow, with our over trigger being the Eidos Farah for the additional critical pressure, being able to choose a unit and gets the critical +1 while adding a card from your drop back to your hand. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Like I said, just wanted to, update the line of decks I've been making from these Sparkling Stars with some of the more noticeable ones. And we had Absolute Zero before, and Coral being the newest one of the lineup also. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.